What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of A Couple of Subs. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Cody Crane. With me, as always, my lovely co-host, Kristen Crane, aka Kiki.
What up, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to another episode. So we have the privilege to interview our first professional athlete on the show today. We're pumped about this. He's a good friend of ours, Mr. Brandon Davis, Killer B Davis, if you will.
Man, welcome to the show, bro. I cannot believe it's taken us this long to line our schedules up. Like, we live right down the street. It's stupid.
Whoa. Don't even come at me with that. It ain't lining our schedules up. This is on y'all.
I know it.
That's why I don't have a dog, man.
It was hard enough for us to keep a hermit crab.
Yeah, we tried a hermit crab one time. He came out of his shell and still lived for 3 months.
It's pretty
What does that look
nuts.
like? I've never seen
Looks
one
like a
shell.
slug on the back end. Oh, yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, it wasn't very pretty.
You don't want
Wasn't very
hermit
pretty.
Good to know.
They're survivors.
Did he survive?
Oh, yeah, we turned him loose in the Bible.
Oh, nice.
Finally.
Oh yeah, finally.
We talked her son
Immediately got,
tripped.
immediately got eaten by a fish.
Like longest living hermit crab.
We like to think he found a new shell and he went on about his way.
Yeah, that's what we're sticking with.
Speckled trout came up and got him real quick.
All right, so let's dive into this. Brandon, Cody, for our listeners out there, y'all probably don't know, but Brandon and Cody have been like bros for such a long time. Let's talk about that. How long have y'all known each other, and where did this friendship blossom?
Oof.
I'm gonna let Cody go first.
I was going to say, you say that.
on that.
Oh, shit. Back in college, what, 2009, 10?
It had to be at least 2010 because that's when I got to Mississippi State.
So 2010, I know we were hanging out at the pool, and I finally talked my dad into letting me take summer school. Because summer school wasn't a thing for us. You come home, you put your tool belt on, and you work. Any holiday, everything. If you're not in school, you go work. So I finally, that's the only summer that happened too, by the way. I didn't have my tool belt on, and that's whenever we bumped into each other. Was it 21?
Oh yeah, 21 apartments. I live right there by the pool. I was like the closest apartment, bottom floor I could get there fastest out of anybody.
Damn right.
Every day after we got done training or got done with school, I was out there every single day.
So we were in school from 10 to 13. Once we met, it was thick as thieves. And I guess after that, 2013, I moved down to it was late 12. Late 12, I moved down to the coast, and it was, shit, man, it was lonely. I didn't know that many people down here, And I got that phone call. What year was that?
I moved down here 2016, and I was the same way. I didn't know, the only person I knew was really Tyler. I'd trained with a couple other guys before, but we weren't good friends or anything like that. So, and I forgot you even lived down here, and I was like, oh wait, Cody lives down here. Called you up, y'all were at the yacht club, I remember, and you had Trip with you. Came out there and saw y'all.
So let's see. All right, y'all met in 2010 through college, and that's when your MMA career was kind of taking off, right? Is that right? How'd you get into fighting?
So, when you get done playing sports, and I don't know, I like to compete at whatever I do. I don't care if we're playing a game of cards. I'm competing. You beat me, we're running it back until I win.
I can get talk a little shit.
I've seen that myself.
So I didn't want to just play flag football and do all this like everybody else and go to class and then play flag football. I wanted to compete. So I was going through the CAF one day, and they had this little table set up, said MMA and stuff like that, and jiu-jitsu, and it said gi on one of them, gi jiu-jitsu. I was like, what is GI? I didn't even know what a gi was. So gi is like a karate outfit or whatever, if you don't know what I'm talking about. You see the karate people wearing it. So I was like, what is GI? They're like, that's gi. And I talked to them probably for about 20 minutes, and they didn't start the classes up until probably a month later when I showed up to every class. And I had like a little pin in my finger where my finger's broken.
Oh yeah, that thing was janky. Show that to the camera.
Oh my gosh.
And tore the
That's
tendon.
a janky
Ew.
ass pinky, bro.
I wouldn't call it a street fight. We were at the party and this dude probably about 6'2", probably about 215, 210 maybe.
He looked like he could eat you.
Oh, he was big. And he said he had done some boxing before. I was like, shit, let's go outside and box. No gloves or anything. He's like, you don't want to do that? You know how it is. Yeah, dude. And we went outside and boxed. I hit him with a couple shots. Never felt it. When I got done, I was like, what is this? I guess I torn my tendon and broke a piece of the bone off. And then I went back home the next day or whatever. My aunt was like, we can't just have you walking around like that. So she made me go get surgery on it. Made it hurt worse. And I had this pin sticking out of my finger. And it had a little ball on the end of it.
Ooh.
So I go in there and I went to go train the first day, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't let you train with this." I was like, "Man, I promise you it won't be a problem." I talked my way into it and trained.
They let you do it?
Oh yeah, they let me do it. I don't know why, but they let me do it, and then I was doing pretty good just because I was super athletic. And then there'd be a few times where somebody hit me and like push it all the way in, and I'd have to like pull
Oh my
it back
god,
out.
dude.
And it hurt a little bit, and there'd be other times where people were like, "What's up, man?" And they like, didn't know it was in there, like push it in, and I'd have to pull it back out and twist it, and the ball ended up falling out at some point. But I went to the doctor, and they pulled it out, and that thing went straight back like this. It's like, I gotta pay for this? So that's pretty much how it all got started. And after that, after the pin came out, I was training hard every day.
Nice. So it happened over just like a fight at a party? Somebody said, hey, I want to box.
Well, they said they boxed, and I said, I want to box you. So we wouldn't really call it a fight because...
Yeah, y'all were playing
just
around.
Just a little bare knuckle sparring before
Yeah.
bare knuckle was the thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it happened like just over just hanging out. That's how it got spiked.
That's how I got spiked. I always liked to fight, and I always knew I was pretty good at fighting, even though I never trained really or anything like that. I did some boxing back in the day, but not super in depth.
So that was before Leah and the kids and all this. So give us a little background, like you grew up where, and I know you made your way to Starville.
Yeah, so I'm from Georgia. I went to high school over there, played football, ran track, played baseball. Was a really good athlete. Went to Mississippi to community college to play football, and then went to state, and where we met. And I don't know why. For a while, for the longest, I swore we met in Fulton because ICC, where I went to go.
Bro, we may have. I might have been like too deep.
Yeah.
Too deep.
But so where I went to my first college, community college, is where Cody's from. And I could have sworn we met back then at first, and that'd have been 2008, 2009. But made my way to state, got offered to try out for the team, and got offered to try out for the track team, even though I hadn't ran track in 2 years. But I passed up both of them, started doing the jiu-jitsu thing, and about a couple of years later, I met Leah, and we were together for about a year, and I had already, it was almost a year at that time, and I had already wasn't with her, we were a little on and off, not Leah, but another girl, and then ended up getting her pregnant, where she was going to have Decker, and me and Leah got together after that. So she knew the baby was coming the whole time and everything, and then she was still young, she was probably 19, and she was fine she said she was fine with that all. And then after we actually had the baby and I had Decker with me and all the time and everything, she's like, I don't know, this is too much. I thought it was gonna be easier than this.
Be tough on anybody, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you're 19.
Yeah.
And at that time I was done with school. I went to school for medical stuff. I was biological sciences major. And I was a regional manager at this pulmonary company, so I'd be going between hospitals and clinics, making pretty good money, and I really didn't have to work. I just had to drive to make sure they're doing everything right. If somebody wasn't there that day or couldn't show up, then I'd drive to Vicksburg to that clinic and go do all their work. So I had to learn how to do all of that. And so when I was a regional manager, I was making pretty good money, and me and Leah had already broken up by this point, and I think she wasn't going to state, she was going to the W or something to be a nurse.
Yeah, I ain't too far from there.
Nah, Columbus, yeah. So about 45 minutes or whatever. And but we weren't even on talking terms or anything like that. And at that point, Tyler was like, man, you need to move down to the coast. We got this dude, Jason Knight. He's in the UFC. He just got there. Come down here and train with all of us, and let's see how it goes. And you need to come down here if you want to make it to the UFC. And I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do? He's like, man, you can work at the gym. And I ended up, when I did end up moving, I was only getting paid $400 a week before taxes. So what is that, $1,600 a month? And that's before taxes, and I had child support, and I had my car payment, $420 car payment on the Mustang. And then
That's
I had
a badass Mustang there.
but I'm saying for the money that I was making, and then I had rent, and then I still had to get groceries and gas and everything else because that Mustang was sucked down the gas. But before then, so Tyler kept trying to talk me into moving. I was like, man, I don't really want to move down there and go from making pretty good money doing this job that I don't have to do anything really other than go check on these people and make sure they're doing their job right. Because when you're a manager, you just tell people what to do. And I just won a fight against a guy that used to fight for Bellator, and he had never lost any fight, but unless it was in Bellator, and beat him up pretty good in Tupelo. I believe y'all were at that show.
Damn right I was.
And after that, Tyler drove all the way up, which is 4.5 hours to come corner me, and he was like, man, now's the time you need to do it. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So I told my roommate, I was like, man, and we had like one month left on the lease. He was like, are we gonna renew? Are we gonna stay here? I was like, I don't know, we gotta figure it out. And I called him that day. I was like, man, I'm not renewing, I'm moving down to the coast. And he was cool about everything.
I'm going, bro.
He was cool about everything. Most of the time they'll get mad, you know, because you give them such a short notice and they haven't looked for a place, because he only had a month to look for a place after that. And then moved down, literally making $1,600 a month before taxes. I had to like hustle to do like kids' birthday parties at the gym to make an extra $100, or teach private lessons and do all this stuff. So it was crazy. I was struggling to get by, and then still had to make time to go to Meridian to see my son, or at that point he was still in Starkville to see my son and stuff. So it was definitely a struggle in the first part, but I moved down May of 2016. August of 2017 I made it to the UFC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Dang. Okay.
that's what most people know you widely, you know, as a UFC fighter and your MMA experience and all this. But what I want to bring out in this podcast today, what very few people know, is the entrepreneur, the businessman, the smart bitch that I know. That's what I would love to show these people today. That's something that very few people know, I feel like. So would you tell us, you know, briefly give us a little high points on, you know, I know you got Savage Association. I got me some Savage Association.
Where's my shirt, Brendan? I thought you were coming and bringing my shirt. I'm really disappointed because y'all got all your gear on, and I'm no gear over here.
Man, Leah,
whatever, it's fine.
Leah got off work super late at the hospital, and I had my 2 kids with me. I couldn't even take a shower. I hadn't had a shower since.
I was wondering what that smell was.
I took a shower before I came over here, so you
I'm
must have been smelling cold.
I'm kidding.
But no, so I hadn't even had a shower until I told you I was on the way. I was getting in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
But so I wanted to make I probably had some shirts made. I know I had some tank tops made, but I was in such a hurry to try to get stuff done. Whenever she finally got home and she had just got off work, she really didn't just want to hold the baby either. But I was like, I gotta go. I've been at work since 4:30.
Catch.
Yeah.
I was like, can I at least change my shirt? Because she had her scrubs on from the hospital. Can I at least change my shirt? And I'm like, I gotta go to Cody's and do this podcast. You need to take her.
No,
I'll let her change her shirt and then hand it her straight.
But it's not only now. It's not only just Savage Association and your apparel line. Savage Association podcast.
Yes.
So tell us about both. Let's start with the apparel line first.
All right. So I like to think of it more than just like apparel, because eventually, and maybe at the end of this month, not 100%, we're gonna have a gym, and there might be Savage Association as well.
Oh, nice. Next step, huh?
I mean, that was always the plan, but it's not just, even when you go to the website or anything that you go to says more than a brand, because to me it's a way of life. You can't just have a Savage Association brand and not actually live it. You gotta live that lifestyle. I feel
You
like.
are a savage, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I appreciate it, but so you can't just have that and be a normal guy walking around. I mean, I guess you could wear the shirt and be a normal guy
You're still at the end, right?
going to your 9 to 5 and sitting at your desk.
That's
Savage Association. I don't care, but that's not me, and that's why I started. It's more than a brand; it's a way of life, and that's just how I've always lived, and want to continue to live. So I was like, man, I want to start something up that is gonna be eventually be a gym, do what I want to do, and when people see it, like, man, that's gotta be something. I don't know if I want to go in there. Like, it might scare some people off. Like, those might be some bad motherfuckers or something. You know what I mean? But if you're scared to go in there, it's not meant for you.
You're not a savage.
Yeah, it's not meant for you. So if it scares you off by the name, when you see that on a gym or a shirt, then it wasn't meant for you. So you know what you're gonna get.
True story.
So you've got t-shirts, you've got all the apparel stuff, and you've got a gym coming, and now you've just started a podcast. So tell us a little bit about that.
So started the podcast. Haven't done the first episode yet. I have in mind who I want to do it with. Really big name, super big MMA fighter, kickboxer, really good friend of mine as well, Joe Schilling. Someone that I've still got to talk to him. I'm sure, 100% sure he's going to do it. Just got to figure out a time and date. But so the podcast isn't just going to be MMA, and it's not just going to be fighting. It's going to be anything that the normal person doesn't do. You're not going to be on the Savage Association podcast if you're sitting at home doing your 9 to 5 on the computer. I'm not going to bring you over like, hey man, what'd you do today? I went to work, pulled up my Word documents and stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, it's going to be stuff that somebody that isn't sitting at home or on the computer, that you have to get out, and it's going to scare you. It's going to get your adrenaline up, make that butthole pucker a little bit. You know what I mean?
I had to climb up on top of the building today and hang off the side of it to stick 5 screws in.
Hey, even that.
Tied a rope around my foot to do it. You know,
stuff that normal people don't do. It doesn't have to be a sport. Then that's the people I want on there. So a lot of it will be like extreme athletes, people doing hardcore mountain bike riding where you're jumping 30-foot jumps and stuff. Just the same jumps you can jump on a dirt bike or
I was
dirt
gonna
bike
say,
riding.
shit, that's a big one for a dirt bike.
Bro, they do the same thing. You just got to be hauling ass. But same thing. But so I don't want it just to be classified to MMA because it's lowers who you can talk to and who's going to listen to it. But also, I like to do all this other stuff too. If you catch me out at Cowboys, riding bikes, playing paintball, doing all the extreme stuff, scuba diving, skydiving. I mean, I want it to be all about that, not just about MMA, because I do more than MMA.
Savage life.
You're interviewing adrenaline junkies. Is that what I'm hearing?
I almost named the podcast Adrenaline Junkies. And
that's very fitting.
So in there, I'm going to have segments, which is so funny that you said that. And one of the sections is going to be, a lot of it's going to be MMA, and there's going to be a lot of MMA techniques I have on there that I make videos of. But a lot of it's going to be MMA interviews, but there's going to be one section inside the Savage Association podcast called Adrenaline Junkies section. And that's going to have all those people in there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Very cool.
Waiting to do this first episode, hopefully the end of this week, beginning of next week.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting. You got a lot of new adventures headed your way. I want to dive back into, you said, all right, so you moved down to the coast in 2016, in May of 2016, but then you got into the UFC in August of 17. What did you do in between May of 16 to August of 17 to get in the UFC?
Work at the gym 24/7 and make $1,600 a month.
I mean, you're
figure out
just,
that wasn't enough.
like, just training, but I'm saying, like, how did you actually get in?
No, yeah, I was just playing. But no, I pretty much lived at the gym. Pretty much. I'd be at my house, my apartment, a couple hours a day. I would go to the gym to teach 5 a.m. classes, so I'd get up there at 4:30, and I'd be up there from 4:30 to like 9:30 or 10:30 at night training. Go back home, go to sleep, and then be back up there Monday through Friday. Then I taught Saturday and Sunday, so I taught every single day. I wasn't at home too often, and if I was at home, I wasn't at home. I was at the beach or something.
Yeah.
So in between that whole time, if you're up there all day, you got to be getting better. You can't just be teaching some classes. I'm up there training, doing jiu-jitsu 3 to 4 times a day, doing striking 3 to 4 times a day. I was literally training for like 8 hours, and then I guess it all ended up working out. I had a few fights, had a few boxing matches, and then had some good bangers of a fight. One in Pensacola, it was against Max Musaki for Island Fights. If y'all go watch that on YouTube, man, if you go watch that fight, super tough fight. I was supposed to fight Crazy Horse, really big name in MMA. Is had 60 or 70 fights, but had been huge in MMA, and he backed out like the week before, and the guy that I ended up fighting had an opponent that backed out like 2 weeks before, and I went up a weight class to fight him, and it was really good. He talked a lot of shit. We ended up settling that in the ring.
You whooped that ass for him, didn't you?
Oh, 100%. I remember telling Tyler.
I remember coming down to Pensacola after I thought the fight was going to be on Saturday. It was on Friday.
It was on Friday. Yeah. Which is actually really cool because then we got to stay another day and party and do everything.
I came for the party day.
Oh, Saturday, I got so drunk I passed outside the bar. But no, so I remember telling Tyler at the weigh-ins, the dude was like, oh, my face talking all the noise and everything, and I looked at Tyler and said, he's got a pretty big nose. I think I'm gonna break that thing tomorrow. First round.
Broke it?
Broke it.
Oh my God.
Third round, hit him with the elbow, broke it even more. Like, it still looks different. But the dude's super cool now.
I bet he is.
Me and him get along.
I would be too.
Me and him get along pretty good, which is usually like all my opponents. I don't hate anybody I'm fighting. It's just
No, you can't have that.
it's
mad.
It's my you got to be controlled, but
Yeah.
it's my job, so I gotta fight you. It doesn't mean I have to hate you, and after that we can be cool. Unless you're a dick, then we won't be cool. But he was cool afterwards, and
Then you can get your ass whooped again.
hey,
So you get into the UFC. What is that like? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh.
That has to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, like
feel
hell
your
yeah, I'm here.
child, or maybe not childhood dream, because you know you
nah,
said
I
it
just started till I was 20.
Yeah, but feel your adult dream.
So what's so crazy about this is I remember a buddy of mine telling me, he's like, man, we're gonna go watch that Jose Aldo versus Uriah Faber fight. Come on, now I think that was 2013 probably. And I was like, he was like, who do you have? I was like, Uriah Faber for sure. Jose Aldo whooped him, like kicked him probably 100 times with his leg. Like the dude couldn't even walk. His leg was so beat up. And I like Uriah. Go out there and train with him. I ain't gonna say all the time, but go out there and train with them some. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'd ever do that. Not because I was scared or anything. It just didn't look like something I'd want to do. Lo and behold, I come and do it.
Yeah.
Started doing it, and I ended up making it to the highest level. But so what was cool was I won that Max Musaki fight, and I got offered onto the Dana White's Contender Series. And this is the first season that they had ever had. So it's so hard to get on there. And even when you got on there, they had 10 fights, and it's 10 fights, 20 people, and it's all people that are prospects, like the best people in the country, the world, wherever, to try to get into the UFC. So they're pretty much everybody should be in the UFC, if not really close. And at that time, they're only choosing like one person out of the whole 20 people.
Oh wow.
So you had to be, out of all 20 people that should be in the UFC, you had to impress them the most.
Yeah, you had to be the baddest.
The baddest. biggest savage, I guess you could say.
There you go.
But so I've just beat Max Mustaki in Pensacola, and I got word about this, and then my coach was like, man, yeah, we can go ahead and take it now, but let's go ahead and get one more fight. So I took another fight, won that in the first round, super easy fight, and then got on there. So I could have been in there probably within the year, because me and him fought June, so I could have been there a year and a month. But me and him fought June. And then got the word, flew out to Vegas. They fly you out there. It's stuff I've never seen before. Never been to Vegas before. Never been on like any kind of level to where you're actually, I guess like NFL or anything like that, to where they fly you out there and do the photo shoot, and they keep you at the hotel and you eat everything, all this for free. And man, it was awesome. Then we fly back, and then we got to go back like 3 to 4 weeks later to actually fight. And it's on a Tuesday night. So I'd never fought on Tuesday. I was out helping. I had just started cornering Jason, so I moved down here. And when me and Jason would spar, if we're standing up, I'd beat him up.
Jason the Kid Knight.
Hey, don't get me wrong, Jason.
Tough,
yeah,
dude.
super tough. But my striking is just better than his. And the dude's so tough though. When he fights, it doesn't matter how technical or whatever he is, when he's actually in the fight, his toughness is going to get him through 90% of that. So he asked me one day, he's like, man, will you be my striking coach? I said, hell yeah. Go to the UFC fights. I'd never been to a UFC fight before I made it, right after I moved down. So this is probably 2 months after I moved down. And he has to fight in Chicago. So we fly to Chicago, corner him, he ends up winning. He lost his first UFC fight. I wasn't coaching this fight. I'd been coaching the whole time. Broke down this guy like he's gonna do this, and this round. He's gonna do this. It was 100% exactly how he thought it was gonna happen. He ended up winning fight of the night bonus and getting paid pretty good and everything. And then I was like, man, I want to do that. Me and Jason spar all the time. I know I can be in there. Like if he's over here beating these dudes up like this, he went on like 4-fight win streak. And then I was like, I know he can do it. And he won one in Dallas, and he gave me a shout out afterwards. And then it was soon after that I got the call for the contender
nice.
series. Yeah, because he hit him with something. I was like, man, and Jason's the orthodox fighter. That means your left foot's in front, right foot's in the back, because he's right-handed. He's like, man, my takedown on defense is better, and I'm southpaw, which means right foot's in the front. I was like, all right, well, let's work the whole camp southpaw. Never done southpaw
Swap it
before.
up.
And so I had to show him everything again. It's like trying to throw a football with your left hand when you're right handed. You look weird, right? Same thing. I had to teach him from like the very beginning of it. And he ended up knocking that dude out with the combo I told him was going to work against what he does. And he was like, man, that was all my coach, Brandon Davis, and this and that. He's going to be the next guy in the UFC, which from our gym I was. And which was awesome. And I appreciate that shout out still. And that's how that all got started, and I got a taste of what it was like to kind of be in the UFC, even though I wasn't in the UFC.
Yeah.
And from that point, I was like, man, I got to get there. Got on the contender series, go out there, it's all 20 of these guys. I'm like, man, you got to be the best at this. I'm the second fight on the card. I'm sorry, there's five fights on the card, and you got to be 10 people, and you got to be the best of the 10.
Yeah.
And luckily and I had this dude that was 15-2. He was on a 13-fight win streak, like 12 first-round knockouts.
He's a bad dude.
Dude, they thought he was going to be like the next Conor McGregor. And so they weren't giving me a chance. My coach went to New York. One of my coaches went to New York the week before and saw Sean Shelby up there, and they're like, oh, man, I don't know how Brandon's going to do. This guy right here is supposed to be like the next Conor. Same thing I just saw. Getting there, and luckily, so on there, you got to put on a show. So if you're just trying to take somebody down and lay on them, even if you win, you're not getting that contract.
That's right.
So we go in there, and me and him have the same mindset.
Bang
it out. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not, if this dude gets me in a submission or whatever, if he's like choking me out, you're gonna have to put me out. I'm not tapping. And which eventually comes to that. First round's going good, close first round. I win first round on all judges' cards. And then second round comes around, I'm still doing good, starting to feel my groove. The commentators are loving me and everything, like, oh man, he's doing this and that. And then the dude catches me in the guillotine. and it's tight, super tight. And it's an arm in guillotine, which means I can't use his arm because he's overhooking this arm. And I'm like trying to pull him off. I finally get shake, and get my arm free. And I get my hands on top and I start pulling on his head as hard as I can because I'm about to go out. It was super close.
So that whenever you were like in your head, you're about to go out, shaking that dude.
I told myself I was gonna have to break my nose on that canvas when I fell before I tapped out.
I was about to ask you, was there ever an instance that you're like, I'm not gonna make it in the UFC?
In the UFC, no.
I'm not gonna win this fight.
Well, if I would have lost that fight at that point, I wouldn't have made it to the UFC.
Yeah.
So it never crossed my mind. It wasn't gonna be tap. In the choke, you go to sleep, you wake back up.
It's all or nothing.
And I'm standing up trying to like shake him off, and I was like, in my mind, I thought, all right, I guess I'm gonna have to face plant into the mat with him, all his body weight on my head, and then if it breaks my nose, whatever, and I wake up, I'll wake up. But I was like, I ain't gonna tap, and I finally shook and pulled on his head, and my head popped out. And Snoop Dogg was like, if you go watch one of the things, Snoop Dogg's commentating on one, he was like, oh, it's like a baby coming out, my head popped out. I could breathe, I got on top, and then that's when I hit him with the elbow that cut him open, and then after that, it was like the whole fight went my way.
The whole family,
Awesome.
Me, Trip, Dad, everybody, we're standing up in the living room, just jumping up and down at this point. Oh yeah, we're like, yeah!
Dude, it was, and then after my fight, I was the second fight of the night. The first fight was a good fight, but it wasn't one that I didn't think it was gonna get.
You're gonna make it.
Yeah. So I'm like, I just still got 3 fights to go. Maybe somebody comes out here and just knocks somebody out in like 2 seconds, and then they get the contract. Well, next fight, dude comes out there in 1 minute, knocks the dude out. I'm like, oh. It wasn't like a great knockout, it was TKO. I was like, oh man, they're probably gonna give it to him. And then the 4th fight was kind of boring, kind of good. 5th fight was like, it was on ESPN. Like the knockout that the dude had was so clean, they put it on ESPN. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm definitely not getting the contract now. And so this is the 4th episode of the first season. They'd only given out 1 contract every episode. And I'm like, man, I'm definitely not getting it now. And you have to go back in this stage, in this room, if you're a winner. And they even sent Austin, the guy that I fought, because our fight was so good, they were talking about maybe giving him one too.
That was gonna be, yeah.
If I got it, they might give him one too. And we go back there, me and him are just talking like how he liked the fight and everything. He'd already got stitched up. And just chilling, like me and him were friends, like we just got that fight. Yeah, he just got stitched up.
So he wasn't a dick.
Nah, super cool dude. Me and him trained since in Vegas. Like we'll still message each other on Instagram and stuff. But so we're chilling back there, and you have to wait till all the fights get done. And I'm like, man, I don't think I'm gonna get it just because the last fight, which is funny. The dude's named Julian Marquez. I go out there and train with him in Vegas all the time. Same birthday, same age. Me and him were the 2 that got the contracts.
Shit.
Oh, weird.
So they called it out, and Dana White's like, "This is exactly what we're looking for. The first pick of the person we want to give the contract to tonight is Brandon Davis." And I was like, "What?"
Hell yeah.
I was so happy walking around, and then had to go out there and get interviewed and talk and everything. And everybody's like, "Yeah." Jason Knight's in the crowd, which I forgot to mention. I was all week before this in California helping Jason get ready for his fight. So my fight was on Tuesday. His fight was on Saturday, the week before. And he was fighting like the number 4 ranked dude in the world, Ricardo Lamas. And so I told him, I was like, man, my buddy fights Saturday. Can I come in after the fight and show up Sunday? They're like, no, you have to be here Saturday. And there's no excuses. So I did get to go corner him that fight. I think I left Saturday morning, so I couldn't corner him, and then got in Vegas like 12 o'clock that day.
Dedication.
And Jason, after he fought, came there and he was like showing his support and everything, and he was like, man, congrats, I told you you were gonna be the next one in and all this, man. It was unreal, like talking to Dana White and everything. He's like, man, you got a tough chin and everything. He's like, we love your style, you're gonna do big things. And I don't know, it was just awesome.
So you make it to the UFC, that's when like all the hard work, that's when the shit comes, that's when you just have to like dig in, grind it out, dedication, all that kind of stuff. tell us about a time, like, was there a difficult situation that you faced that, like, how did you overcome very difficult situations, like mentally, physically, all that kind of stuff? I personally know, like, whenever I've watched you had to, like, shed all that weight within, like, 3 to 5 days or whatever. I don't know how that is physically possible, or
You
how
try to
you
get
could
in
do
a bikini,
that.
ain't you,
Like,
baby?
oh my God. Like, I would mentally break. Like, how do you do that, you know?
And so, for my first 4 fights in the UFC, I was at 145. I walk around like 167, 170. Sometimes if I get fat, 172. But so I wasn't having to cut too much. I'd be cutting 20 pounds to 30 to 25 pounds max.
But in what span of time?
They give me now that's the problem is I took 5 of my 7 fights on short notice. So sometimes it would be within 6 days. Sometimes it would be, if I got a full camp, it'd be 3 months. I only had 2 full camps the entire time. In my entire time in the UFC. So I fought my first fight in Boston in January 20th, and then lost a split decision that everybody says I won. Still to this day said I won. It's to a guy that was from Boston.
Oh,
And,
I was there.
Yeah. You were there.
That
yeah.
was some bullshit.
Agreed.
That dude was like just trying to.
He was on the.
He was just trying to. He was on the defense always.
So it was an MMA fight, right? That dude was running the Boston Marathon.
That's right. Yeah.
He was not engaged.
He was not trying to fight.
You go look at the stats. I won that fight in every way. Takedowns, punches landed.
He's a tough dude. Every other fight I've seen him in, he's the aggressor.
He did not fight me like that.
No, he did not want none.
But so I lost that fight on the split decision, took 0 damage, and one of my managers calls me. He's like, "Man, we got this fight. We don't have it. Like, there's a fight open at 145 in Dallas. This is 2 weeks later, and this is not 2 weeks later from the fight. The fight that's coming up is 2 weeks later, like February 4th or something like that." And I was like, "Man, see if we can get it." And they're like, "Nah, Brandon just fought. Let's get Jason." He's like, "Jason's not in shape. Brandon's still been training since the day he got done with that fight." And I made this post on Twitter and everything. Got the fight. Got that fight. It was against Steven Peterson in Dallas. And they ended up pushing us to the main card. So we're like the 3rd fight from the end. Cowboy was the main event on that card, and we ended up getting fight of the night, getting the extra $50,000 and everything. So that fight I got on, I want to say 6 days notice. So I had to cut all that weight again.
That was a badass fight.
I had to cut all, that was a fun one. I had to cut all that weight again after, and what's crazy is cutting weight isn't that bad because you do it over a span. If you have like the 3 months like I did for the fight before, because you do it over a span where you get all your body weight down. You try to cut like 7 to 10 pounds max water weight. Well, when you get a fight on 6 days notice, you don't get time to lose all that fat. That's water weight. But it ended up working out and won that fight. And then later on in my career, I moved to 135, which was like I had to stop drinking the beer, eat correct. My problem was not that I was eating too much.
That sucks.
I need to stop eating so much. They wanted me to eat more times a day so you keep your metabolism high.
Yeah.
But I had to eat the right stuff. Like I said, no beer. I got down. I was walking around probably
About this much.
No. It's a good bit of food. You get like 6 ounces of meat.
Damn.
Per meal, and then you get your 2 sides of vegetables, and it's a bunch to where you don't want to eat more. Like there's times where like I don't even want to eat right now, but I'm supposed to. But so that all happened, and then got to where I was walking around like 142, and then 135 was easy to make because I was doing everything right. But it was crazy. Like we'd be going to work out and everything, and doing these workouts, and Tyler's like looking at me. It's like. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Dude, it looks like you have worms in your stomach." Because you can see veins all the way through my abs. Like, you usually have abs, they just look like abs. It looked like I had worms through my abs because all my veins coming through my abs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was in great shape.
So you're running like 20 miles a day, is that right?
Yeah.
When you're training?
20 miles a day minimum.
Shoot.
I'd do an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, an hour at night. And then if I did the hard one, it'd end up being 8.5 miles. If I did the easy one, it'd be 7. So it's really running like 23 to 25 miles a day.
Damn.
Same. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So where was it? Where was it? you had to fly way off for one fight. Where was it at?
I had one in Chile and I
Chile.
had one in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Oh, fun.
Was it, so who'd you fight in Chile? One of them,
a wrestler.
Wasn't one of them
Enrique
like a
Barzola.
Chinaman or something?
No, it was Enrique Barzola. He's a Peruvian.
Peruvian.
Peru, yeah.
Where's Peru at? Is it Peru?
South American.
South America, that's it. So, I've always heard, you know, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight and the dog. But I gotta know, what was it like fighting a man that eats dogs?
He whooped my ass. Not as far as like punishment.
Dog means good, huh?
I guess it makes you strong. Not as far as like punishment. Like I didn't look messed up or I didn't take a lot of damage. But that was the most tiring fight I've ever been in my life.
Tough dude.
Just really good wrestler and grind you on the fence, take you down. I would get back up, take me down again. So my whole time is trying to get back up. And he couldn't hold me down on the ground. His jiu-jitsu wasn't better than mine. His wrestling was better than mine. So he could hold me on the cage and then he'd get me down. And now I could get up easily. But when I got back up, I couldn't get away and he'd take me down again. So I was so tired from the get up, get down. And the whole time you're getting up with his body weight on you and getting back up and then getting taken down.
It's like
again.
doing squats all day.
With another 145-pound man on you, probably at that point 170, and man, the most tiring fight of my career. And then what's crazy is, literally, it's like 13-hour flight from there back home. So I flew 13 hours to Chile, and then fought on Saturday. Flew back on Sunday, 13 hours. My next flight to go to England to corner Jason was 30 minutes later, and I was like an 11-hour flight over there. Dude, my ankles were so swollen.
Dedication.
My ankles were so swollen from, I guess, the pressure and stuff.
Altitude.
Dude, it looked like I had some fat girl cankles.
Cankles.
It was crazy. But no, good times.
So where does that come from? Where does that like just absolute dedication come from? Because that's a mental thing. You know, where do you get that?
Man, everybody wants to be great at something.
Yeah.
Right? I fight, like I said, if we're playing spades or cards, I want to beat you at cards. If I'm in the UFC, I want to beat you in the fight for sure, because I'm trying to be that guy. I'm trying to be the one, so I don't know. I guess that's it. I just don't like to lose.
So that's just that savage lifestyle.
Something like that.
Nice. So I know earlier we had talked about how, you know, you're not just MMA, but there's, you know, beneath all that ass kicking, there's an entrepreneur, killer businessman, savage businessman. Let's dive back into, you know, Savage Association and the podcast. Like, I know that all kind of fed off of, you know, just the way you live your life and the way your career and all that. Have you taken anything that you've learned in your career in fighting into the business world? And how's that helped you out? You know, like,
As far as like wanting to be the best, yeah, I'm trying not to. Like, if you get any of my shirts or anything, they're not gonna be like cheap material, like cotton, like not gonna say 100% cotton. But you know, you get those shirts and they feel like a cardboard.
I'm wearing one right
box.
now. I'm wearing one right now. I want to rub my nipples a little bit.
Super
Well,
soft.
I'm not wearing
It's like
one right
salt.
now, so.
Well, whose fault is that?
Your fault. It's absolutely your fault.
But no. So I want to, even in that, I want to try to be the best brand. If Nike's number one, I'm going to try to make it with Nike. Of course, it takes time. So I want to make it up to Nike's level eventually. But it's going to take time. Got to get an audience as far as people that want to buy your stuff and everything. So doing all these podcasts and everything helps, and having a podcast myself now will help. But being in the MMA scene and fighting and in the UFC, I've already had a bunch of people that already go on there and order. It's just what we have in stock, and sometimes it's stuff that I design online, and then I have like a warehouse that sometimes I print it out and they just take a cut and send it because I can always make the stuff at my place. So that kind of helps me out, but it's still always good quality stuff. As far as like the gym and everything, of course I want to have the top gym. Like whenever the Savage Association gym opens, I mean, I want to be like compared to an American top team. I want to make it to where I feel like I'm a good coach. I'm a good fighter.
You are a good coach.
I feel like when in the end of it, whenever I get done fighting, I'm going to be a better coach. So I want to help other people make it to where I made it and do even better. You know what I mean? So American Top Team is like one of the top gyms in the world, and they have a bunch of UFC champs and everything like that. I feel like we can do the same at my gym that right now it's not called Savage Association, but whenever we change it, it's possibly going to be called that. So I don't know. I'm just trying to push and trying to push myself to be the best at everything I do. You know what I mean? And then hopefully that'll fall off on other people as well.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, I feel like you try to get the best out of everybody. I know me and you were you were trying to help me get down, shed a few pounds at one point, and at one time there was a video floating around of me puking out the yard.
I think it might still be on my phone somewhere.
Oh God,
we might be able to put it on this.
Hey, I kept going. I kept doing those bear crawls though. Screw those bear crawls,
You
man.
stuck
They
with it,
suck.
huh? All right, Brandon. Well, one question that we like to ask everybody before we kind of wrap up is, so if you could say one thing to the younger generation, anybody out there who's wanting to be a UFC fighter or an entrepreneur themselves, what advice do you have, Killer B?
Don't go in half-ass. I didn't start training MMA until I was 20. There's people that have been doing this stuff their whole life. Maybe not MMA, but as far as like fighting, boxing, training boxing, or karate, or whatever, they've been doing it their whole life, and they still haven't made it in. When I went in at 20, I decided this is what I wanted to do, and I made the efforts to move and do all this other stuff. If you want it, you got to make those sacrifices, and you keep pushing and it eventually come. But if you're half-assing it, it's most likely not.
Even in business.
In anything you do in life.
Anything you do.
Anything.
I cannot agree more.
Damn straight. Good advice.
So, before we get out of here, tell our listeners, where can they go to find out more about Killer B, Brandon Davis, and Savage Association, the podcast? Where do they need to go to reach out to you?
If you want to just see what I'm doing, or these days, is going to be, I get on Instagram more than I do anything. Facebook, I just get too many messages and stuff that not from people, just like from old gyms that I work from and stuff that I don't like to open up or whatever. Like, oh, we got these many people coming in today, and I just hate seeing all that kind of stuff. Like, give that to them. When the people come in, I'll talk to them or whatever. I don't know. So I stopped using Facebook as much. But Instagram, my Instagram is Brandon Killer B Davis. If you go on there, I'll probably post not a story, but something on my feed at least once a week. Story daily for sure, probably multiple times. So you'll be able to find anything from there. Savage Association is on Instagram as well, at Savage Association. The podcast will be on there too, not the actual podcast, but little clips and actually video techniques of how to strike and jiu-jitsu and all this other stuff too, training. So you'll be able to see stuff that can help you get better, and also some training stuff that I do as far as like clips from us sparring and stuff like that. So it'd be pretty cool to check in on. We actually have a Savage Association website, savageassociation.com. They have all the apparel on there. You'll actually be able to go on there, and there'll be a link to the YouTube video to watch the whole entire podcast and everything as well. And we will be on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the podcast platforms. It would be Savage Association Podcast with Brandon Killer B Davis, so make sure to check that out. The first one should be coming out soon.
I cannot wait for it.
All right. Heck yeah.
And I expect for us to be on there pretty soon too.
Hey.
Adrenaline junkie to my left.
So
He's definitely gonna make
we
me
can
go.
have a podcast on like how not to get your ass kicked in a bar.
Hey, so you never told them the story about the sparring we did at your house
Ooh.
when your dog tried to eat me alive.
Well,
Do tell.
that was a good dog.
She didn't want to see you die.
That was a good dog. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, you're not gonna tell the story? All right, cool. We'll leave that behind closed doors.
So this has been another great episode, a couple of subs. I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show, Killer
Appreciate
Big.
y'all for having
Love
me.
you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Can't wait to keep drinking some beers with you and have a good time. And man, thank you so much for spreading a little knowledge for us.
Oh, yeah,
Killer
appreciate
B
y'all
up in the
having me.
house.
My boy KB.